Hi, today we are focusing on offshore investments with the question, why should you invest offshore? Now, first of all, we're going to look at basically 5 reasons for investing offshore. The first one is to get great geographical diversification. When we look at South Africa, we see that South Africa makes up only 0.4 to maybe 0.5% of the world GDP. Now, all that means is that it's the world economy. Secondly, why we should invest offshore is because the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, in terms of dollars, actually performed dismally over the last 20 years. So we see that we need extra returns. Also, the third one, why we should invest offshore, is that we see our rand is sliding continuously on a basis of about 7% per annum if we look at the last 30 years. Now, what does that mean? That means you lose the purchasing power of about 7% per annum. So those are the reasons why we want to invest offshore. Now, how do we go about that? Firstly, you would need about $5,000 to invest offshore. Now, that equates to about 85,000 to 90,000 rand. Now, you would need to turn that into dollars, so you can either do that yourself, go to your local bank and ask them to do that, or you can use an agent. Now, what is it going to cost you? It's basically going to be about 350 rand to do the transaction, and then also the spread of about 1%. Now, what does that mean? It just means that the bank will offer you a certain rate and they'll buy back at another rate. And that just means that's the profit that they make on a transaction like that. So it's important for you to also understand that you cannot do a monthly offshore investment. You cannot have a monthly debit order. That's why we're looking at the lump sum, to take the lump sum offshore. Now, once we've done that, we need to find where are we going to invest. That's our third point. So how are you going to go about investing offshore? Obviously, you can research the markets yourself. If we think that in South Africa, the companies listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange is in the region of about 700. If we look at offshore companies, we see that there's about 80 to 90,000 companies offshore. If you think that you can invest and you can do the research, that's fine. Otherwise, you can employ a discretionary fund manager to do that job on your behalf. So they would research the markets and they would look at where the best would be to invest. Now, the fourth point is, how much money can you take offshore? Now, first of all, you can take R1 million without getting a clearance certificate from SARS. Above that, you can invest up to 10 million rand offshore, but you will have to get a clearance certificate for the balance between the 1 million rand and the 10 million or whatever you want to take offshore. Also, you have to make sure that your financial affairs, your tax affairs are in good standing with SARS if you want to get the tax clearance. The following point is very important. What type of assets should you buy offshore? Now, we recommend that you invest 100% in equities. That means shares, because internationally, bonds and gilts and money market instruments don't offer basically any returns. It offers a dismal return. So that's why it's much more important for you to invest in equities. Now, again, your discretionary fund manager will choose in which jurisdiction. You will invest in America, you will invest in the UK, you'll invest in Germany, in Japan, and in China. And again, you will use those currencies. So you have great currency diversification as well if you look at that. Lastly, we're going to look at the cost. Many people say it's costly to invest offshore. Now, yes, it can be costly, but it shouldn't be more expensive than to invest locally in South Africa. Normally, you would pay your financial advisor between 0.5% or 1%. You will pay a platform fee of about 0.5%, and you will pay your discretionary manager about 0.35%. And also for the platform, you can pay 0.5%. So if you add it all up, you get to around about 3%. So any offshore investment should not be more expensive than basically 3%. If you can keep within those ranges, you are doing very well. So I think a very important point as well, finally, is to let your investment offshore run its course. Don't try and time the markets. It's very important that you use the markets in your favor. So I think it's really a great time for you to consider investing offshore, and I think you can have great benefit from that over time.